It's Phone Booth Fighting. I am Richard Hunter. He is the two-time UFC heavyweight champion, Frank Mir. And Frank, we're in the Phone Booth Fighting bunker here inside stately Mir Manor in suburban Las Vegas. Joining us on via Skype right now is very exciting. The 15-year-old in me is dancing a jig in my head. I am immediately taken back to the 1985 Texas Jam that I attended in my hometown of Dallas, Texas, when I saw this man live on stage from Poison. It's Rikki Rockett. Rikki, welcome to Phone Booth Fighting, man. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on here.
Okay, so we're excited to get you on. Frank is so excited that he came straight from the gym, and as you can see, is still wearing his gi. He doesn't walk around the house like this. He
Not normally.
This didn't take time to change.
Sometimes when the kids aren't here.
No, don't tell me that. I envision Frank constantly in uniform. He didn't let me down, you know.
Well, that's true. Well, so the interesting thing is we have to explain, first of all, that Rikki is a jiu-jitsu black belt. We're going to be talking some music, but we're also going to be talking some jiu-jitsu and some other stuff with Rikki. And once again, I got to credit Twitter, Frank, your Twitter specifically, with an incredible guest get. I mean, this is this year's Paul Stanley. Last year, we got invited to Paul Stanley's house because of your Twitter account. And this year, we're getting to meet Rikki Rockett in 2017. So let's start there, Rikki. I mean, everybody knows about Poison, but not only do you train jiu-jitsu, by my calculations, you must have been training since probably like the early 90s or something, right?
You know, I don't even know exactly when. It's been like 18 years or something like that. It's been a long time. I think it was like, somewhere around circa UFC 5 is when I felt like I had to learn that stuff.
Now, what got you interested in it to begin with? I mean, because the band was already huge. I mean, at that time. So I guess it's not something you did as a kid, or what got you into it?
No, I've always loved martial arts. You know, of course, like a lot of guys, I love Bruce Lee, and I tried karate and kung fu and all that stuff I'm from Pennsylvania. And,
yeah.
So I did all that, and I wrestled in school, in high school. But I didn't really get involved in martial arts again until I actually had a little bit of money and a little bit of time to do it. And that's when we moved out to California. And, the first thing I tried to do was find somebody that could teach Bruce Lee stuff. And who I finally found was Cass Magda. Cass lived with Danny Inosanto, and he was his, protege. And so who better to learn from than a direct lineage of Bruce Lee, Danny Inosanto? I thought that was perfect. And in learning that stuff, he also taught Silat. And Silat is kind of like a ground fighting game from Indonesia. And that put me back in touch with wrestling a little bit. But it wasn't until I met John Jock and Higan Machado, at an animal rights rally, as a matter of fact. And they said, you got to come over to the school if you I heard you love this stuff. And I said, okay, I'll come over. And the first guy I met was Eddie Bravo, by the way.
Yeah.
And, we did a little bit of technique. I had on a pair of sweatpants and a T-shirt, and I thought, I'll be just fine. I know Silat. I wrestled. I'm a JKD guy. I mean, I'll be just fine. And I got tapped about 12 times in a row, just bam, bam, bam. And I signed up the next day. I walked out of there. I mean, I thought about it all night long. I was like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? What's wrong with this picture? I'm such an incomplete fighter. And, and I just had to get involved. And I mean, and then I got deeply, deeply involved. And I still kept up with JKD for another year. But then my coach got injured and sidelined him for a while. And I just, life happened. I got married and all kinds of stuff. So I just focused on jiu-jitsu only.
Now, I'm finding this problem because I travel a lot. Being as busy as you are, how are you able to fit that in to be able to train on a regular basis?
It's tough when I'm on the road. I mean, the thing is, Poison hasn't toured in 4 years. You know, I went through a cancer bout, which we can talk about later. But, you know, the thing is that when I'm away, I'm away. But when I'm home, I'm really home. I'm home 24/7. And so I can go like almost every day, basically. I mean, I just have to pick up my kids from school and stuff like that. But I mean, I can train all the time. So I get this condensed stuff. And then I go on the road and I hardly train, which is horrible. I haven't trained in 3 weeks now. And it makes me crazy. It's like, it's hard to understand.
Yeah, I was curious maybe if you brought somebody with you or just tried to check into local gyms. I was trying to look for some advice, but I'm pretty much finding that's the situation I'm in, where when I'm home, I can eat and train properly. When I'm traveling, it seems like you're screwed.
Well, you know what? I mean, I've gone in a couple of gyms. Like, I mean, of course, I went in Carlos Machado's gym because I have that Machado connection. That was awesome. They welcomed me with open arms. But not every gym's like that. It's like every swinging dick in there wants to take out the black belt, especially if he plays drums for Poison. You really want to first take him out. Okay? I tapped out the drummer. How cool!
Someone lost a girlfriend to you. Get a little
yeah,
pissed
that's
off.
right. Yeah, so
Payback.
Someone's still mad about losing that girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah,
You brought it up
exactly.
just right now a little bit about. I know you went through a bout of tongue cancer. Were you able to train at all during that time, or did you really have to focus fully on your recovery and battle?
Well, there were 7 weeks where I was told that I couldn't get on the mat at all because the one drug that I was on actually made you very susceptible to getting infection, skin infection.
Oh.
So I was on an antibiotic for that because I didn't do regular chemo. I did this other targeted stuff, but it causes skin issues. So I couldn't get on the mat at all. And then it was probably another month after I was done with that I got back on the mat.
Chemo wrecks your immune system, right?
I'm sorry?
Chemo really hurts the immune system, right? I mean, I know it's killing cancer, but I notice people that have gone through the chemo, it seems like their immune system, they're worn down all the time.
Exactly. What I was on was something different called Erbitux. It's what, if you remember, Martha Stewart went to jail for a drug that she was doing insider trading with back in 2001. Right?
Yeah,
that was the drug. Okay? So that was what they put me on. So it wasn't like this harsh chemo. It was fairly mild, but the radiation was really, really tough. For 3 weeks, it was like, hey, I got this, you know. And then week 4, it started to wear me down. And then, it just kicked. I mean, I couldn't taste anything. I could barely eat. A lot of people get on a feeding tube. I wouldn't do it. I just kept pounding shakes, like maybe 5 or 6 a day. And they were like 500-600 calorie shakes. And it hurt. I mean, I had to like gargle with like, numbing solution. And I mean, it was like the worst thing you ever want to go through. And still, I have residual problems. I can't eat, as quickly. Like everyone's on dessert, and I'm still like on the main course. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm here. But all that didn't work. I wound up having to get on an immunotherapy clinical trial, an experimental trial, and that's what worked for me. And it worked really fast. Within 9 weeks, I was almost completely better. And then within 18 weeks, I was completely clear. And I've been clear ever since. It's amazing. That stuff is absolutely where it's at and where the future is. And I mean, they might be able to cure cancer with this stuff. I'm not even kidding you. It's amazing.
Wow. Congratulations on that, man. I'm glad that you're feeling so much better. You know, this has been so interesting to me because by the time that I saw that, you had followed Frank on Twitter and he was following you and all that kind of stuff, one of the things I was telling Frank, I mean, just being a music fan for as long as I have, is that, this is going to be really interesting because Rikki has got all these layers and dimensions to his personality. like the jiu-jitsu that we're talking about, like the animal rights, I'm a vegan as well, and that sort of thing. We actually talk a lot about animal rights and rescue here on the show, and all those things. But, I was thinking, Rikki, it's like I came to know all those things about you much later in life, because and really because of the internet, social media, and things like that. I mean, I'm 46, so I go back to when I first learned of poison, it was only what Hit Parader or Circus Magazine wanted me to know about, and they weren't covering your jiu-jitsu or your animal rights activism. That was it was mostly just telling me about hard partying and stuff. So I was thinking, like, in a way, that's something that is very cool about modern technology, is that we were discussing before we went on the air, Rikki and I were, about sort of the death of music journalism, and that is a bummer. But I guess the upside is that you're also able to kind of control your own narrative in a way that you couldn't before, and you can let the world know that you've got a lot of sides to you.
Absolutely, and it doesn't always sit with everybody so well. But yeah, I mean, God, social media has changed everything, hasn't it? I mean, it's for good and bad. You can't say it's all bad, and you can't say it's all good. But yeah, from that standpoint, it's good, I think. Honestly, I do.
Do you think you guys would have, I mean, you really, from everything that I've read about you guys and heard of how hard of workers, how you guys were out on the grind, always constantly pushing your product, not only just in the studio, but outside. Do you think that if you would have had access to what bands basically have access today to, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, do you guys think that it would have shortened it up, or how would you have done in that scenario?
I don't know if, it still comes down to the music at the end of the day. But here's the weird thing. You can have, let's say, 10,000 people that like you on Facebook. Let's pretend you're a brand new band. But then you go and you play a show in Nebraska. How many of those 10,000 fans actually live in Nebraska that could come and see you physically? Maybe only 5, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really tell the whole story. There are bands right now that have a Grammy and can barely sell. They sell out a club maybe or a small theater, and then you have somebody like Steve Miller, who we haven't heard anything from in years, decides he wants to tour and sells out everywhere he goes. It's just nothing makes sense anymore. And singles, we're back to singles. People don't buy the whole record. It's like the 50s again, It's like people listen to singles and they download their favorite single song. It's really crazy right now. It's like the Wild West. And Frank, I don't know how we would do it today if we started from the beginning. I really don't know. I think we would have figured it out somehow. We're like those kind of guys that it's like if we all worked in a restaurant, we'd own it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I personally think,
I've always said that. Yeah.
Well, from what I've seen, I think you guys would have even nailed it out of the park even quicker, because it seems like back in the 80s, a lot of doors had to kind of be opened for you. Like, I mean, you could beat it down, but there was guys in suits that would, if they didn't want to let you into the radio station to play your song, or if they didn't want to sign you to a label, they could keep you basically as a local phenomenon. And you guys fought through that. But it seems like nowadays, because of YouTube, because of Twitter, because of Facebook, that suit doesn't seem to have the same power to say no. If you're a good band, you don't have to know the right people. You basically can start playing your music and YouTube it, and if it's good, it's going to spread like wildfire.
Yeah, I mean, people want to work with you just because it's supply and demand. If you can supply a product and everybody wants it, people want to work with you. I mean, they just do, even if you're a rude jerk. It's weird how that works. But I mean, back in the day, we used to have to go into these distribution places and literally kiss ass to some clerk, bring them fruit baskets and stuff, just get them to like carry our record and distribute it and remember our faces and everything. And in so many ways, I think that it made us develop a little bit, because we became pretty good at being nice guys, because our career depended on it. And you can only fake it so much until you realize that, you know, people are just people, and we started to get genuine feedback from those people. At first, it was just a merciless grind to go in there and kiss everybody's butt. And after a while, it started to become kind of fun. You know what I mean? It's when I look back on that, you know, we always had pretty good relationships. Within the innards of the industry, we were pretty well liked, but we weren't liked by like the press. You know what I mean? That's where we failed miserably. You know, it's like, you know, we were talking to, you know, like I said, we had Rolling Stone magazine was doing a piece on us. And I mean, the writer, I mean, looked me square in the face and said, you know, we've been extremely unfair to you for the last 30 years. And I said, does that mean we're going to get a good piece? He goes, I'm not telling you. You know, I don't know if it's going to get any better or not. So, you know, but whatever. I look out in that crowd and I see a great audience, and I see them having a great time, clapping, jumping up and down, raising hell, partying. We're partying, having a great time. So no matter what any writer says, I know what it is, and they know what it is. So, you know, that's really what it comes down. It's like Frank. It's like somebody saying, you know, Frank can't fight, and then you knock a guy out. It's like, there it is. You know, you can say what you want, but at the end of the day,
you're just lucky.
Guy's knocked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The other guy sucked, and you're just lucky.
Poison is out on tour this summer with Def Leppard and Tesla, and they're going to be at the MGM Grand right here in Las Vegas, Frank, on June 17th. So, And let me tell you why we should be attending that show. By the way, tour dates at poisonweb.com for all the information. I'm going to let you in on a secret, Frank. This is a
is there other dates they're going to be here?
This is a secret from the teenage Richard Hunter. Okay, right. Let me take you back to the mid '80s, a little tad before Frank's time. But Rikki, Frank, and I a lot of times talk about you know, the secrets to picking up the most attractive women on the road and stuff like that. The secret was to go to a Poison concert. Okay,
I've heard
because there were only 4 guys in that band. Okay, so I mean, they were taking up a lot of the ladies, but you know, one night you can only cover so many. Right. Yeah.
There's only so much poison that can go around.
That's right. There were any guy in the '80s, any teenager who did not appreciate a Poison concert just wasn't very good at math. Okay, because they did not understand that the odds were very much in your favor. You know, you go to a Rush show or a Dio show, you know, not a lot of girls around. So I figured that out very early on, Rikki, that Poison shows were a good place for dudes like me to hang out, wait until the lights come up. They're disappointed that they didn't get a backstage pass, and that's where I go, I'm in a band. We're playing somewhere in a couple of days because you guys were leaving town. You're gone that night. See, I took advantage of that a couple of days later.
Yeah, we're like the musical Magic Man. You know what I mean? Like, you know, these male reviews, except,
yes.
You know, except we actually took the girls too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's right. Some of them didn't come back home. That's true.
I know.
It was definitely.
Yeah, no, we were fortunate in that way. No question about it.
I remember, so I think I said at the beginning of the interview, but I saw you guys, I'm from Dallas originally. I saw you guys play at the Texas Jam, 1986, I think was the year. And what blew my mind about that show was that completely unannounced, Paul Stanley, speaking of our friend Paul Stanley, came out and sat in with the band. And that was back before you saw a lot of that. You know, now people sit in with people and all that, but back then that seemed to be much more of a rarity. And all of a sudden, out he came on stage. That was
huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was huge. I mean, it was like, you know, I was like pinching myself. I mean, especially at that point in time. I mean, we had not been out for very long. We were on our first record still. Yeah. And to see Paul Stanley, you know, I'm looking over and it's like the guy from Kiss is on stage with us. Like, that doesn't happen every day.
I know.
You know, yeah, that was pretty amazing. He's a nice dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's awesome. They've always, we did a tour with Kiss. They treated us great, you know. You know, Def Leppard, by the way, I mean, Phil Collin is a badass. He's a kickboxer. He's really freaking good, by the way.
Yeah, he trains Muay Thai. He's worked out. In fact, he's worked out with John Jones.
Oh, wow.
I talked to John about this. John went to a Def Leppard show, and I don't know if it was planned or not, but Rikki, I think they just ended up in Phil's dressing room hitting pads or something. So he trains himself.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So I guess
I can't get him to grapple. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, that's okay, though.
So
See,
far.
what I'm thinking is, in case tensions ever boil over and the bands get in a fight, Frank, you and we have to corner Rikki to get this fight to the ground. See, Phil doesn't want any part of Rikki on the ground, right?
It'd be UFC 1 all over again.
Well, now, all right, so what about that, Rick? Because, Poison... I was just thinking about this, like, Poison has had all their legendary fist fights on stage and all that kind of stuff among band members, but it never seems to involve you. Are you the trained member of the band who's just sort of I mean, maybe you took it up as a means of self-defense for band rehearsal. I don't know. I mean, what about that? Like, do they know, okay, we can mess around amongst ourselves here with the schoolyard fights and stuff, but we better not mess with the black belt behind the kid. Is that the way it goes?
Yeah, no, nobody wants to go there right now. I got it, in the early days, I mean, our look and everything was so over the top, and we, nobody was used to that. We got in fights all the time.
Yeah.
It seemed like once I trained and once I got good at the game, I hardly ever get in fights. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know why that is. I think when you walk into a room and you look vulnerable, then, you sit there and I think other people look at you and consider you vulnerable. But when you walk into a room and you're just like, hey, how you doing? And you don't appear vulnerable, people just go, I don't think that's the guy that I'm going to pick to mess with particularly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I look in like I don't look like a scary guy, but I don't look like I'm scared of people though either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't hunch over in the corner like this. I feel pretty confident. So
I think that's
the
I think that's true, and Frank and I talk about this on the show too, because I came to jiu-jitsu later in life, and I think not only that you don't give off that vibe, but the other thing is too. Tell me your thoughts on this, Rikki. I always think that if inside yourself, you have that confidence to know, hey, I can handle myself if it really came down to it, if I needed to, then I think subconsciously you also don't exude any kind of an attitude. There's just this sort of zen calm about it, knowing that, hey, everything's going to be fine. Yeah, I think it's contagious.
What's funny is I'm going to so many different events and people get in fights, and every time I go to like a huge grappling match or Pan American Games or something, I never see anybody get in fights.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens once in a while, but rarely do I ever see it. It's like nobody knows what the other guy can do. So it's kind of like they say an armed society is a safe society. It's kind of like the same idea. You know what I mean? It's like people just kind of go, no, I'm good. I'm good. In a bar, you don't know. You don't know what somebody knows or don't know or what they're carrying or whatever. It's a whole different headspace.
It's funny how jiu-jitsu specifically, I know MMA, has changed that. Because, 20 years ago, you kind of look at the dorky kid that looks like he just plays Dungeons and Dragons and plays music. He's an easy target for most people. Nowadays, that dorky same kid that plays Dungeons and Dragons, plays in a band on the weekends, he's like a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. His parents have had him take the classes he was 8 years old, and he's the last guy you want to jump. I just saw a video on the internet where, this bully was picking, and all of a sudden the kid just broke out, kicked him in the face, mounted him, armbarred down. And I'm thinking, man, 20 years ago, you would never see that. Nowadays, I'm like, dude, you don't know who to pick on anymore. The nerds are dangerous.
No, that's so true, man. I know.
I mean, go to a local jiu-jitsu gym, walk in there and look around and go, all right, realize that all these people here are really dangerous.
Yeah.
And which one of them would look like somebody you'd be nervous if they walked up to you at a gas station at night?
And
not a one of them. You'd be like, oh, no, this kid, really? Little college kid over there? Like, no, he's dangerous.
And to add insult to injury, Rikki, everybody's got a camera phone now, so you can guarantee it's going to be filmed. And when you come to, the wimp that just kicked your ass is going to have it posted to his Facebook page.
I know. It's so true. But I mean, again, back in the day, it was like we were like fresh out of Pennsylvania. We were like these 4, ridge runners coming to Hollywood, and just like it just seemed like we were constantly getting into something. It just we didn't want to put up with anything or wait for anything or be patient with anything, and it was just like, we have to have it, we have to have it now. And I don't know, man. I don't know how I got through all that without like just getting killed. I remember one particular thing. We lived on Franklin, which is 1 block from Hollywood Boulevard. And we look out the window one day and this pimp is beating his hoe. Just slapping her. And I'm like, no, this isn't okay. Our gear was set up in an apartment. I grabbed the top off of a cymbal stand, and me and the guitar player go running down to smack this guy.
Yeah.
The guy busts out a Bowie knife about yay long, and we just went, maybe we shouldn't get involved.
Yeah. We didn't know what she did to begin with. She might have it coming. I'm sorry we've upset you.
But, but that's the kind of stuff. I mean, back in PA, if somebody was hitting a girl, you jumped in and you hit the guy. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's different when you get into the city. I'm just saying, I don't know how I survived, but I did.
Yeah.
Here I am. But
now, tell me,
a little smarter now.
Tell me, because there's yet another side to you that is of a personal interest to me, because I'm a very devout vegan and animal rights activist, and I know you've got that side to you as well. How long have you sort of felt that calling, and what got you involved in that?
I've been vegetarian for 23 years now. I'll tell you how I got involved. I had to do a report in school, and it was about animal experimentation, and I got asked. One person had to take the pro side, one person had to take the con side. Yeah. And you didn't get to pick, and they picked that I had to take the con side. So I went and I wanted to find out about this stuff, so I started reading all this information, and I thought, well, why don't I write to one of the biggest organizations, the Anti-Vivisection Society, and I got all their information, and I read about it, and I realized that it was this huge thing that was going on with the animal experimentation, and I just didn't like it. But then it was many, many years later where I realized that if I was going to try to save animals, I had to stop eating them. It didn't make sense for me to give money and do the best I could or protest animal experimentation or what have you, and then eat however many cows a year or chickens and whatever. Right. I'm a central Pennsylvania boy who grew up on steak and potatoes, and I was like, how am I going to do this? And how I did it was I actually fasted for almost a week. I went down to a water fast, and when you come off a fast, I don't know if you've ever done it. I don't think people need to do fast, but at the time I thought I needed to. When you come off of it, stuff that I never liked, cauliflower or whatever, was amazing because you're so hungry, you know what I mean? And I just never let meat back into my diet after that. But I binged the night before I started that fast. I mean, my friend ran a Red Lobster, and I made myself sick. I ate so much stuff. I remember that. Wow. I've never looked back. I feel like at the end of the day, I can go, hey, nothing had to die for me. And I feel good about that. All
right, so we got to ask Frank. We got to ask Rikki if he knows about what we know. So there's a couple of things, Rikki. First, I'm fortunate because my girlfriend is a gourmet vegan cook, so it's like I don't miss anything. You know, I mean, there's just amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah. You okay? Then you know.
I got an awesome girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if you know how to cook it right, you're not missing anything. But you know, you trade stories and recipes and locations and stuff with people, and you find out about places to go. So there's a place in L.A. Do you know about Doomies? Do you know?
I don't.
Okay, so there's a place in. We talk about this so much on the podcast. They should give us free food for life. We talk about this so much. So there's this place. Frank and I take this show on the road fairly regularly, and we were. I had heard about this place in L.A. called Doomies, and the deal is they're home cooking. Okay, so it's vegan versions of fried chicken, you know, hamburgers, just everything you could imagine. But
it down.
Yeah, Doomies, Doomies, but it's all plant based. So we go there, and they have a Big Mac, all right? So it's not on the menu. You got to ask for the Big Mac off the menu, and it's just like you would get at McDonald's, but it's these 2 full patties with the Big Mac sauce and all that. You get animal-style fries like at In-N-Out, everything. So we order this stuff. Frank says to me, forget vegan. This is one of the best hamburgers I've ever had. And so now, I mean, I don't know how many times we've been back since, but it's
4
like
4 times, I think.
Yeah, it's like
because then we brought, you know, Robert Drysdale, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Drysdale, we brought him there, and he's okay with eating vegan, but you know, he's not a vegan. He's like me, like, well, if everybody else is doing it at the restaurant, I'll eat that way too. I don't have to have meat. So I told him, like, buddy, this is one of the best burgers I've ever eaten. I'm not even trying to convert you to vegan. I'm not a vegan, but just this is a great hamburger. So I brought him there, and he's eating. I'm like staring at him, like, you know, you're sitting there like, you know, what do you think? What do you think? And sure enough, he says top five hamburgers I've ever had in my life. And this is coming from guys that eat meat. I have In-N-Out. I like going down to different burger places. And if right now you sit there and you said, "Hey, burger place," and we're not talking about being healthy, it's a good burger, man.
You got to check it out, Rick. We loved it.
I'll do it.
Yeah, we loved it.
We're in Hollywood.
It's I guess it's kind of over by Paramount Studios. I'll email you the exact address and everything so you have it. But the last time we went, I knew Frank was hooked. He loved it so much that we were doing media out there. We had to drive back to Vegas from L.A., and we drove across L.A. in 5 o'clock rush hour traffic so we could have one of those burgers.
Basically, we came home 4 hours later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we went and ate this burger, and it was worth it.
It was that good, man.
I definitely have done my favorite places too, but no, that's awesome, man. I've always, you know, I'm in Alabama tonight, so I mean, it gets challenging when you're on the road, as you probably know.
Yeah.
You get outside of your comfort zone. I keep a stockpile of stuff on my tour bus. I don't go into hotels as much as some of the other guys do. Yeah. I love my tour bus. I like live out of my tour bus.
Oh, yeah.
I got a trailer, and I got my motorcycle in the trailer, and I rode today. I ride like every day.
That's right. You do the custom bikes now.
Yeah, I do. I love having a motorcycle out here. I'm doing a thing. I don't know if you know about it.
The from the saddle, the photo thing, the photo essay thing. Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us what you're doing.
Well, I ride around in every city that we go to and find interesting things to take pictures of. But the criteria is I can't get off the bike to shoot the picture. So it all comes from the perspective of being on the bike. That's the rule. And a bunch of people got behind it. Ducati gave me a bike to take out on the road. Leica gave me a camera to take out on the road. I've had Dayanese clothes throw me some stuff, and I mean, Zoom gave me a camera to do video. I mean, people treated me really good. I'm gonna take those photos at the end of the tour, put them in a gallery, and sell them, and the money goes to immunotherapy so that other people can thrive like I did from the treatment. That's what I want to do.
That is really cool, man. It's like that's what I'm saying. It's like that's another layer to the personality. So that's good stuff, man. Cool. Well, I hope we have not taken up too much of your time tonight, man. This has been a fascinating visit, and we appreciate you making time for us, letting
Hey,
us
no
into your
problem.
hotel
We
room
didn't
there.
have- you know, we didn't talk as much about fighting as I wanted to.
Well, what you,
Yeah, actually,
what do you want to talk about? You
Actually, I
ask
wanted to
questions.
ask you if you could just kind of to geek out a little bit on
Yeah.
jits. Do you have a certain game you like? I mean, are you a bottom player? Do you like the half guard? Do you, are you, what area do you like to concentrate the most, or what do you prefer?
Well, my coach is Renato Magno at Street Sports. He came over with the Machado brothers. I got my purple belt under John Jock, and Renato was one of my trainers at the time, and Hagen was too. And when he opened his own school, I went there to Street Sports, and I've been with him ever since. And he's like Hagen. He has a pressure game. John Jock's like technical, and I have some of that, but I get a lot of the pressure game from Renato. And I like to try to stay on top. It's like Chris Howder always says, it's very, how can I say it? I'm trying to think to paraphrase what he said. It's so seductive to want to pull somebody to your guard. But really, if you're more on top and constantly thinking about where the other person's hands are, you're in a much better position to deal with real life. And I think sometimes in jiu-jitsu, we start forgetting about that it really is a self-defense system. And, I mean, there are some schools where the guys are amazing at winning competitions. I'm not so sure I'd want them in my corner, though, in a real street fight. You know what I mean? Because they start to forget. If somebody's going to drop to guard right away, I don't know. I don't want to forget that the reason I started jiu-jitsu was to protect myself,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess that kind of plays into the debate that, we're, of course, now we're in an age, Rikki, where we're debating, points tournaments versus submission only and things like that. And how much does, a leg lock heavy game replicate real life and that kind of, if you're in a street fight, are you just going to sit guard and, that sort of thing. We actually talk about that a lot on the show, and I guess that's a relevant conversation. Now, did you do tournaments? Have you done tournaments much?
I've only done one.
Yeah.
I did one. I lost by point advantage. The guy was really good, Brazilian guy. He was a fairly high-level black belt. I had just got my black belt. I was scared to death. He had 30 students cheering him on. I'm over there going, oh, God,
Yeah.
But he was great. He was a super nice guy. His technique was really good. I almost got him in a reverse Kimura twice. I've got this little technique called the rocket rollout, and I used it, and I caught him by surprise with that. But, I want to compete again. I want to do Master Senior next year.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can do it. Hopefully I'm not touring, or hopefully I stay in remission and I don't get sick ever again,
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
That's awesome.
Man, we got to, okay, so go ahead, Rick.
Oh, I just wanted to say one thing.
Yeah.
I got a chance to train with a vegan MMA guy. Well, I know Jake Shields, by the way. His parents used to come see us play.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't really know Jake that well. But Max Danzig came to our school.
Yeah.
And trained with Rico Chiapparelli, who Rico's just awesome. He's such a good teacher. He's a good guy. And so I was fortunate enough to be in one of the classes with those guys. And I mean, Mac was, he's a tough son of a bitch. I think I don't know why he's not doing better than he is. But he's really good, and there's more and more vegan guys out there now. It's kind of crazy.
The Diaz brothers as well. I think it's something, the vegan fighters that I know that I've talked to all tell me that it helps them stay on weight. And the weight doesn't fluctuate as much, so that when they're making weight, they don't have the drastic weight cuts. And I've noticed that in myself. I've noticed that my energy levels stay up. But the other thing I've also found, Rikki, is that when I eat, we were just talking about like what a great vegan burger they have at Doomie's and all that kind of stuff. When you eat that kind of food that is typically associated with heavy, now I'm going to sit on the couch and go into a food coma and wish I hadn't have eaten that much or whatever. It doesn't have quite that feeling with it because it's plant-based, you know, so you're still fairly light, unless you're like Frank and you eat 2 of those burgers. You want to talk about excess, Ricky. The last time we were at Doomy's, he finishes his double patty Big Mac before I had finished mine. Waitress comes by and he says, "Hey, when you get a chance, will you bring me another one of those?" And she goes, "For here?" And he's like, "Yeah."
And then finished that one before he finished his food. No, I had to get up there. You'll see when you go to the restaurant, there's a small couch there. When you sit there, realize that's where I had to get up and go lay down because I couldn't breathe sitting in my chair anymore.
He's got a little napping couch at Doomy's.
I had a food coma.
I destroy like 8 bowls of cereal every night. When I couldn't put on weight. I was 193 and I went down to 161 during treatment. Now 178, 180, right in there. But to get there was tough, man. I shakes every day, and then I started to eat cereal because the milk was lubricated enough that I could get it down because I lost a lot of my salivary glands through the radiation. I destroy cereal. I mean, people just sit there and look at me and go, "Oh my God!" I mean, I can go through a box in one sitting. I mean, just over and over and over again. It's crazy. I overeat. I mean, I do.
I'm there with you, buddy.
Well, if you're gonna overeat, better to be a vegan, I say. Won't be as heavy. Hey, man, this is awesome. So we've got to find a show that is. We either need to go to the Vegas show or we need to go on one of the West Coast shows. Frank and I want to go rock out, so we'll figure that out. Tour dates at poisonweb.com. Maybe say it's hard to train on the road. Maybe we could arrange some training or something when we hook up with Ricky on the road. If you want to do an afternoon session or something.
I would love to have Frank beat my ass.
Yeah, it's a real treat. Trust me. It's a real. Hey, we got to tell. You know, before I let you go, Ricky, I got to tell you about this new bit that we do during live shows that we're so proud of. I'll tell you how we married jiu-jitsu and classic rock. So I'm pretty good at name that tune. So we started doing this bit on our live stage shows called Combat Name That Tune. So what we do is we clear off the stage. DJ plays a song. I have to name the song before Frank can submit me. And let me tell you, it's tense. I mean, it's like I've never had to do it under duress. And until you've been caught in Frank Mir's guard trying to remember the name of that one-hit wonder, what was it? Or the worst is the choke. Right. Because when he's got that rear naked choke on you, the name of the song is on the tip of your tongue, but the room is starting to go dark. So, yeah, it's a real experience. You can follow Ricky on Twitter at Rikki Rockett. Where can we see the From the Saddle photo? That's on a Facebook page, right?
Yeah, you know what? I have a Facebook page for it, simply called From the Saddle.
Okay.
Where I'm going to show the stuff, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like a gallery, they need to see the work before they can commit to anything. So I'm not so sure it's going to wind up there, which I understand. I think that's a good policy for them to have. But I don't know yet. I'm definitely going to put it in a gallery. I hope, even if it's horrible, I'll put it in a gallery.
Yeah.
And people still have to buy it because it's for a good cause. So, I think I'm doing a really good job. I'm taking it really, really seriously. I'm listening to a lot of really good photographers' advice, and I think I have a good eye. And I really think it's going to be I think the project's really working out well so far.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for spending so much time with us tonight. Look forward to getting you over here on the West Coast so we can see this tour live. Poison out on the road for the first time in years, doing it with Def Leppard and Tesla. That's a fantastic triple bill. Once again, tour dates at poisonweb.com.